All right, we'll call the council meeting to order. Everybody stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, clerk, take the roll, please.
Mayor O'Connor,
Here.
Morissette,
Here.
Alms,
Here.
DeZiel,
Here.
Weber,
Here.
Brooke, here, Hall.
Here.
Okay, we have a presentation, 2021 National Public Works Week Proclamation. Aaron, Mike?
I'll give it. I was going to make Miraz do this one after last time, but that's fine. All right, proclamation. Whereas public works services provided in our community are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives. And whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and programs such as water, sewer, streets and highways, public buildings, and solid waste collection. And whereas the health, safety, and comfort of this community greatly depends on these facilities and services. And whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, and construction, are vitally dependent upon the efforts and skill of public works officials. And whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works departments is materially influenced by the people's attitude and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. Now, therefore, I, on behalf of Mayor Rich O'Connor, Mayor of the City of Hudson, do hereby proclaim the week of May 16th as National Public Works Week in the City of Hudson. And I call upon all citizens and civic organizations to acquaint themselves with the issues involved in providing our public works and to recognize the contributions which public works officials make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. Given under my hand and seal of the City of Hudson, Wisconsin, this third day of May 2021.
Excellent. Thanks, Aaron. Next up, we have public hearings. Public hearing on a rezoning application from AR Agricultural Residential to B2 General Commercial and a comprehensive plan amendment from Neighborhood Commercial to General Commercial on the eastern half of each property for parcels 020-108 floor-00-000, 020-1083-90-000, and 020-1404-14-000, Hudson Physicians, SC. This is a public hearing. It's your opportunity to speak on this issue. If you're here in person, please step up to the microphone, identify yourself, give your address, please. If you are zooming in and want to make a comment, please just speak up. First unmute, make sure you're unmuted. Speak up because I cannot see if somebody's out there that wants to speak, so you just need to take the opportunity when there's a break. Having said that, again, this is your opportunity to comment on this issue. Is there anybody who would like to make a comment?
And then one other reminder is if you can't unmute, push the reactions button and hit any reaction you'd like, raise your hand, whatever, we'll see it, and then we'll also let the mayor know.
Okay, thank you.
Chris Anderson is on that line too.
Mayor O'Connor?
Yes.
Chris Anderson on by Zoom. And I represent 4 or 5 neighbors of the property, and I would like to speak on their behalf.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So my name's Chris Anderson. I'm an attorney here in Hudson. I represent, there's 4 or 5 neighbors, Dan Vinup and his wife, Greg Helland, Greg and Kelly Yoakum, and Mr. and Mrs. Domeyer, Brian Domeyer. There are really 2 requests before the council tonight. The first one is to change or rezone the property that at issue from ag res to commercial. And generally speaking, that's not objected to. These folks have known that that property is zoned commercial, or will be. The intent is to zone it commercial and has been that way for quite some time. The issue really comes in the request to amend the comprehensive plan. It was suggested at the Plan Commission meeting that my clients, these folks, should have known that the change in zoning and comprehensive plan was coming, and that there would be commercial building on the property as, quote, progress, unquote, occurs. The change in the zoning of the property, again, was expected. I don't think it's fair, though, to state that anyone should have known that the comprehensive plan was going to be amended. It had been reviewed by these folks. They knew about Carmichael and that thoroughfare. And because of that, they knew that they should double check to make sure that their property was not going to be next to a bunch of commercial development. Obviously, they expected some because the comprehensive plan talked about a general commercial zone for the western half of the property at issue. But on the eastern half, it was not that. It was recreational commercial, or neighborhood commercial, as some people have called it. The point being is that they had a right to rely on the comprehensive plan, and that is what they did. The amendment of the comprehensive plan really has the potential to remove the buffering benefits that are in place with the current comprehensive plan. And frankly, that's my client's biggest concern. The current comprehensive plan, with the difference in zoning, that was the point, to make it a gradual transition from the commercial zoning to residential zoning, which is where my clients live. There's a proposed road on the east side of the property at issue. That road will remove a significant amount of the buffering that is naturally there currently and would continue to be there if the comprehensive plan is not amended. There are many mature trees that would be taken out by the road and or changing of the comprehensive plan. That road, excuse me, if constructed at some point in time in the future, as I understand the plans, would put into place a retaining wall that, when viewed from the east, would appear to be approximately 30 to 40 feet tall. Clearly, that's a significant change in the neighborhood and in the look and the feel of the neighborhood. Without the road, the look and the feel of the neighborhood will still be affected, obviously, but significantly less. The removal of the road would greatly mitigate the effects of changing the comprehensive plan. So that's one of the things that my clients are requesting in terms of mitigation with respect to if there's going to be an amendment to the comprehensive plan, that would be something that would be mitigating of the effects on their property and their ability to use their lots and their residences. Really, this is where they live. These are their homes. There are other effects, obviously, with the removal of the road. The traffic would be less. The removal of the vegetation would be less. And then the natural screening that's currently in place would generally remain. Obviously, there would be some removed, but not nearly as much if that road at some point in time in the future were to go in. There is strong opposition to that road, as you can tell, on the east side of the subject property. I don't know that there's a lot of benefit of that road, and there's a lot more harm that comes from that than there is good. It's my understanding that Hudson physicians would prefer not to have the road there. That's my understanding after speaking with Mr. Vivian. It's my understanding that the city administrator is recommending that road not be there, and that's from a conversation I had with Mr. Johnson. And obviously my clients, the neighbors of the Hudson Physicians property, certainly do not want that road there. I believe there was some thought at some point that road may benefit the neighbors to the east and also Mr. Domeyer, who is to the north. And frankly, it does not. As far as Mr. Domeyer to the north, it does not benefit him or his property and may actually harm him. If the comprehensive plan is amended, an alternative that would keep the buffering system in place and maintain the goal of the original comprehensive plan that was relied upon by these homeowners is to build to put into place an approximately 150 feet no build zone running from the east line of the Hudson Physician property westerly. This would accomplish the goal of the original comprehensive plan and maintain a gradual transition from the general commercial to the residential zoning district. That amount of space would be sufficient to keep the buffer intact, yet small enough to allow Hudson Physicians to build what they want to build. There are other concerns, obviously. drainage of the water runoff, noise, light pollution, the traffic that would come with this. Although, excuse me, those last three would certainly be mitigated again without the road in place and without that being part of this. There's also devaluation potentially of these folks' property if there's a commercial road running within 70 feet of their property line or less, frankly. Again, that would probably be mitigated if that road was not part of the overall plan, and if the mitigation effects of the buffering system were to be in place, assuming that the comprehensive or the amendment to the comprehensive plan is approved. Again, really the last four concerns would be mitigated significantly if that road's removed and the buffering system's in place. So with that, I mean, these folks, again, they've relied on the comprehensive plan, and now there's a request to change the comprehensive plan. And, you know, again, my clients understand progress and change is going to occur. However, they just want to make sure that they are protected and they have strong opposition to the road. And I ask the council to take all of that into consideration when you're making your decision on whether to approve the requested amendment to the comprehensive plan.
Okay. Thank you, Chris.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Any other comments? Any other comments? Any other comments?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Public hearing is closed. Discussion of possible action on an ordinance for a zoning map amendment application from AR agricultural residential to B2 general commercial and a comprehensive plan amendment from neighborhood commercial to general commercial on the eastern half of each property for parcel 020-1084-00-0000, 020-1083-90-000, and 020-1404-14-000 Hudson Physicians SC.
Thank you, Mayor. Can everybody hear me?
Yep, we
Okay.
can.
So I think Attorney Anderson did a good job of summarizing what Hudson Physicians requested. I think we're all familiar with the property, having gone through the annexation process. And obviously there is some concern about a future road or for future road connection that would extend Hillcrest east and then north along kind of, it'd be a ridge line on the eastern portion of the property in question. Obviously the conversation tonight, as the attorney referenced, is really about the amendment. We're talking about land use and zoning, right? So taking that eastern half of the property from neighborhood commercial to general commercial, and then again, rezoning, which is common in an annexation because most property comes in as ag reserve, rezoning from ag reserve to B2, which is our general business district. So the road itself, or potential for a future road, is probably really a conversation that will start tomorrow night with the concept plans for the project itself, which you see in your packet, at least the concept and some additional background. Staff, the attorney was correct in saying staff, understanding that there is a lot of neighboring opposition to that, might, or is in favor of saying, hey, this road may not be buildable. We haven't gotten to that level of detail in the review. But also if it's something that the Plan Commission and ultimately council are desirous of not changing or not having there, we could remove that road and not have it included as part of the plan. So that's a little background on that. Otherwise, Plan Commission discussed this at their last meeting. Unanimously recommended approval of the rezoning and comp plan amendment 5.0. So with that, I know the applicant's on as well if they want to share anything about the project itself or proposal. I know they're more than able to. With that, again, staff and the Plan Commission recommend approval.
I'll move we approve, and just to remind everybody that we'll have the opportunity to talk about that road tomorrow, and as far as
Is this a motion to?
move to approve the zoning, the comprehensive plan change.
It's an ordinance change. We need a roll call.
Is this an ordinance though,
Yeah,
Mr. Mayor? Do we need to
Yep.
suspend do we need to suspend the rules?
Yes.
Correct.
That's your motion.
Yeah, suspend the rules, move to suspend the rules.
Got a motion to suspend the rules. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to suspend the rules. Roll call.
Morissette,
Yes.
Alms,
Yes.
DeZiel,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Brooke,
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Rules are suspended.
Now I'll move to approve the ordinance change for the general commercial and amend the comprehensive plan designated from neighborhood commercial to general commercial.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to approve. Discussion?
I guess two quick questions. One is, do we need an ordinance number for that ordinance? And then second, Mike, if I'm hearing you correctly, it's just basically it's the rezoning tonight, but the final plans would be another discussion about the road, correct?
Correct. They'll also need a conditional use permit.
Okay.
It's ordinance number 11.
Okay.
Any other comments?
I just want to also clarify, Mike, we will as council be able to discuss and take up that road. Is that correct?
Correct. You would deal with the road or potential for the road in a plat, as well as
Okay.
a conditional use permit, and then ultimately the development plans. So
And
yeah,
I guess my other question directionally is Plan Commission looking for any sort of guidance tonight beyond the rezoning of that road?
No, but from our last meeting, excuse me, Bill, from our last meeting, there was a lot of concern about that road.
Okay,
So I have no
Thank you.
doubt it will be talked about.
thank you.
Yeah. This is Jim Weber. Is the reason I could see for the road being there would be to take traffic from any development to the north of that property and bring that to Carmichael in an organized manner, because we have no other way at this point of getting there, getting the traffic to Carmichael. I don't think we want to put another access onto Carmichael. So that's that's why I could see that road being there.
yep. And frankly, Jim, I mean, you're right. That was initially why staff recommended that road go in there. So there was an additional relief valve to Carmichael, right? We generally know where our complete access points will be on the Carmichael. Obviously at Hillcrest is one. We know that Sophia Lane and the Faith Community entrance is another one. In between there, we've also done some preliminary work, but we don't know that in all certainty exactly where those roads would go. So
Yeah, in the plan commission too, we just really, we need to flush it out more. That was the first time I think we all saw that concept, so it needs to be talked out and flushed out.
yep.
Anybody else? All right, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Comments and suggestions from citizens present. Again, this is an opportunity for people to discuss issues that are before the city that are not currently on the agenda. Please just take a couple minutes, try to be concise, try not to repeat other things that people have said before you. And again, I can't see you if you are on Zoom, so please unmute and just chime in when you can, or as Aaron had explained before, and that's the technical stuff that I hadn't seen, so I'm not sure exactly how that works, but somehow I think there's a reaction button on the Zoom link, and just press that, and somebody will alert us that somebody wants to speak. So, having said that, are there any comments from citizens either present here or on Zoom?
Yes, I see. Hold on one second. Yes, Addison Filiatro would like to speak. If we could unmute her, please. Oh, Addison, I think you're unmuted.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. My name is Addison Filiatro. I live at 213 River Street.
This comment is just some questions addressing the golden rule bookmark that came with people's utility bills last week. No one has an issue with treating others the way they want to be treated, but I'm trying to understand how a privately funded mayoral initiative is using government-funded employees to do the labor of said initiative and use bills to push it without city council approval. It was just pretty odd to open a utility bill and find a bookmark for the mayor's initiative in a bill. I'm not the only person who thought that, and please discuss as a council to determine direction with this initiative.
Any other comments? Any other comments? Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll close the citizen comment portion of the agenda. Consent agenda.
Approve the meeting minutes from the April 12th, 2021 regular council meeting, the April 2021 organizational meeting, and the April 27th, 2021 special council meeting. Approve the claims in the amount of $1,026,582.07. Approve the operator's license listed on the list sheet. Approve the application for fireworks paraphernalia sale permits. Approve the pedestrian easement release at 803 12th Street petitioned by Christina Oglin and Daniel Remies. Approve the fence easement agreement for 15 Heritage Green, Cheston Boss. Approve the fence easement agreement for 1613 Laurel Avenue, David Krakow and Aaron Odine. Approve amendments to functional classification of streets in the city of Hudson. Approve the 2021 room tax community subsidies budget. Approve the quote from C&H Sports Surfaces Incorporated in the amount of $15,350 to resurface the tennis and basketball courts at Anderson Park. And approve the contract for Res Pyro in the amount of $18,750 for the 2021 fireworks to be held at Lakefront Park on Saturday, July 3rd, 2021.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Roll call.
Morissette,
Yes.
Alms,
Yes.
DeZiel,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bruck,
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Got the motion is approved. Consent agenda is approved. Discussion and possible action on a conditional use permit and final development plans for Quick Trip at 520 Annabelle Way, Quick Trip Inc.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This application is fairly straightforward. This project is proposed to go at the intersection of Annabelle Way, Carmichael Road, and Sophia Lane. So if you think of the main entrance to Faith Community Church, it would be on the northwest quadrant of that. You'll see a roughly 8,300 square foot, 24-hour convenience store. In your issue sheet, you will see that it includes a car wash, and then sells a variety of items as listed. You'll see that also there are conditions of approval of the conditional use permit that were recommended by the Plan Commission. I would like to highlight points 7 and 8 for both the conditional use permit request and the final development plan request, and that's specific to the future signalization of that intersection. So the biggest thing is that obviously we want to make sure that we have control of the design, not necessarily the design, but a control of exactly what goes there. So we're requesting that those two additional recommendations be included. That includes that, Dean and our consulting engineers approve off on the construction plan prior to building permit issuance. And then obviously that the lighting system be installed prior to issuance of an occupancy permit. Additional requirements include additional stone or brick on the monument sign, additional lighting review. We do have we have a lighting consultant that we use on projects. We want that individual to be taking a look at this. And then obviously you see the sound or the amplification of any sound on a speaker. You know, if you're fueling up your gas can at a gas station, oftentimes you hear the music and things like that. We want to make sure that there's, you know, no audible sounds beyond the property line and no music outdoors between the hours of 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. So with that, Plan Commission and staff recommend approval. I don't know if the applicant's on. We've got a number of people here, but I can answer any questions if there are any.
Rich.
Okay, so we do have somebody here live. If you step forward, please. Again, identify yourself and your address.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. My name's Scott Teig, and I'm Vice President with the Quick Trip Stores. We're happy to be working on another store here in Hudson, and if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. We are in agreement with the conditions.
All right, any questions from anybody?
I just have one quick question on the schema, on the kind of the picture of it. Is that a tan paint or like a white paint on the building there?
Well, most of the building is brick.
Accent.
Go
So
ahead,
the part
Mike.
kind of that's under the archway, I guess, or the little, yeah, above the archway there.
It's a tan stucco.
Okay. I just like the tan because I think it's going to fit into the neighborhood a little better. So I just wanted to ask that.
Okay. Any other questions?
I'll move for
I have two questions.
approval.
This is Jim Weber. The first would be that there will be no exit from the gas station from the Quick Trip onto Sophia Lane. Is that correct? Did I read
No
the
exit.
diagrams correctly?
Correct, Jim. That would be a write-in only off
Okay.
of Sophia.
Good. The second thing, the largest noise producer there is the car wash. So those are pretty loud when the blowers start going off and the bells start ringing. I think those should be under a restriction, as time restriction as well.
Do you have operating hours on the car wash? Or is it 24 hours?
Typically, our car washes are 24 hours, the same hours that the store is open. We could, if there's concern there with the neighbors, we could restrict hours there, maybe close at 11 and open not before 6.
Does your car wash have a lot of sirens and bells and
No,
any?
no, there's no beeps in the car wash.
Okay.
I will say too that if we run into any issues too, conditional use permits are always subject to review.
Yeah.
And at any such time that we feel like there's an issue, or you have constituents that have complaints on noise of that operation during certain hours, we can certainly pull it back. But I also don't disagree with an idea of limiting the hours to begin with either. I think that's a good idea, Jim.
I'd like to move to approve the conditional use permit and the final development plans with conditions and emphasize the noise and noise buffering and the sound buffering around it, which they've agreed to.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you here. Discussion of possible action on extension of work hours for Highway 35 and Second Street project.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor, and good evening, City Council. So this request tonight is being brought to you on behalf of the contractor for the Highway 35 project. They had talked to us probably a couple weeks ago now, just kind of as the project was starting up, and expressed some concerns about the work hours that we have in the city of Hudson. And generally our work hour specification says 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. is the work hours on a daily basis. So essentially the contractor has a couple different requests. The first one would be allowance of night work for the replacement of sanitary sewer mains by the wastewater treatment plant due to the high sanitary sewer flow rates during the daytime hours. And if you can imagine, we're replacing the the lines right out front of the plant, and so that's the lines that have the most flow in the entire city. And so any amount of reduction of flow is helpful for them to be able to work effectively in that area. They have told us that they expect that the night work would only be for a few days. But obviously, given weather and site conditions and whatnot, they can't exactly guarantee how many days that it would take. But they're thinking, somewhere in the framework of like 2, 3, 4 days, something like that. The other request was for a general extension of working hours past 7 p.m. on weekdays, particularly for work in the Vine Street to Lake Malibu section. And just to remind people of what's going on in that section, it is a complete rebuild of the road all the way down to the pipes underground, and including the surface, obviously, too. As you can imagine, this project is a large project that is slated to be completed by November, the end of November. And in order to meet that schedule, it's going to be tough. And so they're trying to get any sort of help that they can get for making sure that they can complete the work in time this year. And one of the ways that they're requesting to do that is to just work a little bit more each day to get that work completed. Now, that extension of working hours past 7 p.m. on weekdays, I know is tricky, because if you live on 2nd Street and you have construction going on your street for 12 hours a day already, that's a lot to have to deal with, right? I can only imagine what that would be like in front of my house. So I can understand any hesitation for working past 7 p.m. on weekdays to give people a break. So one of the things that staff kind of discussed with this request is, so first of all, allow the night work as requested for sanitary sewer work by the wastewater treatment plant. And then secondly, for the Vine Street to Lake Malibu section, allow the contractor to work past 7 p.m. only to kind of tidy up the site for the day, prepare the materials for the next day's work, kind of not do any more digging necessarily after 7 p.m., but allow them to kind of finish, tidy up, kind of that stuff for the day, so that they have at least a little bit of extra time in a day to complete what they're doing and prepare for tomorrow. So that's kind of where we landed on it. But yeah, I'd be interested to hear council's thoughts, and looking for a motion one way or another.
Dean, there's no definitive time here. So how much time are they going to need? This is wide open. It's just an extension beyond 7 p.m.
Sure. Well, it could be, I guess that's up to council. I mean, it could be until 8 o'clock. It could be till 7:30. I guess it kind of depends on. I'm sorry.
That's what you want us to do, is fill in the blank. I mean, the Atwood project, we gave them a little leeway, and they really pushed it. So I don't want to see the same thing happen here. I mean, we don't have any, and then we had a specific time, and they still pushed it. So I think we need to have a time specific before we do anything with this.
Do you have a recommendation, Mr. Mayor?
No, I don't. I mean, if it's just clean up and get ready, taking their stuff, putting it away, and preparing, getting ready for the next day, I would say that can't take more than an hour. Is that, and I don't know, is that enough? Is that too much?
I would say, in my experience, that's reasonable for, kind of clean up and preparation work for an hour for after the work is done for the day.
8 o'clock?
8 o'clock is good, yeah.
Okay.
I'm just wondering what we did when Vine Street was being redone. Did we have longer hours then?
I was not around. If Mike Mraz is still on here, he could probably answer that question better than me.
Yeah, so Sarah, to answer your question on Vine Street, it was it was intermittent. There were a couple days where the contractor requested to work past 7 and it was allowed just because it was a day here, a day there. It wasn't for the prolonged duration of the project where this request is. So.
Well, I think we all understand bullet 1, but bullet 2, I'm concerned about the little kids that are at home and go to bed early. I mean, once we hear a complaint, we got to shut it down earlier. I mean, common sense. If it's not working, it's not working for those families down there.
Randy, are you willing to try it at least maybe till 8 p.m. to see how it goes?
Yeah, I am, but, you know, because the sooner they can get done, obviously, the better for everybody in the long run.
Right.
But as soon as
Go ahead, sorry.
As soon as we get a complaint from families with kids down there, we should probably shut it down.
I think we need to let the neighbors know as well.
Yeah, good point.
What's going on and what their options are, so.
How quickly could we shut it down if we got going till 8? I mean, would we have to call an emergency meeting to do that, or what would our process be for that?
We would give it to the staff to make that decision.
We shut them down at Atwood pretty quick.
I guess I would be willing to make a motion to approve up until 8 p.m. is the deadline, and for the type of work specified in the issue sheet there.
Notice to the neighbors.
Well, and to notice neighbors. Thank you. Yep.
I'll second.
Got a motion, a second. Any discussion?
I would just want to clarify, notification to the neighbors do we need specifics within that, or is that guidelines that you can follow as staff?
I think we can put something together that'll work. unless you want to give us specific things to put in there, but I think we can get a handle on it.
Yeah.
What form would that take? Would it be like a mailer, just out of pure curiosity?
Yeah, I think what we would do is we would mail it out to all the properties. Just probably mail it out to the actual property address itself rather than to the property owners, just so that everybody who's actually residing in those properties who are actually the ones that are going to be affected by the change would know.
Paul, would you add that we're giving Dean the authority to shut them down into the motion? If there are complaints.
Yeah, that's a little hard for me because if there's just like one complaint that we pack up and leave, there's kind of a common good issue here too with more people. So it's, I'd say the best thing would be to bring it back to the council if we get complaints and talk through it.
Well, the city attorney suggested that.
Suggested which, Randy, sorry?
The city attorney suggested that we add Dean as the authority to shut it down after a certain amount. Nick, go ahead, I guess.
Yeah, my only comment here, I appreciate that it should come back to the council for review. However, if there are numerous complaints, and more than one, obviously, but where, we're not in a position to notice a meeting quickly, or we can't get quorum, or there's just difficulty on the part of the council getting back together to discuss it, it would be appropriate to give staff at least some authority to temporarily scale back those hours until the council can meet and make a decision on how to move forward with that additional hour.
Yeah, I would accept that amendment, Randy.
I thought you'd see it my way. And I accept that too, so.
All right, any other comments?
Hey, Mr. Mayor, just one from my perspective. We should probably start maybe next week, Monday, so it gives Dean and I a chance to get that communication out to the residents.
Okay.
Good point, Mike. Thank you. I agree with that.
All right. Anybody else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion possible action on traffic calming solutions on 9th Street, Vine Street to St. Croix Street.
All right, this is mine too. So as you may remember, we previously discussed this at City Council. I can't remember exactly when, but it was a little while ago. So a little bit of the history, we've had complaints about speeding along 9th Street between Vine and St. Croix. People use 9th Street as kind of a cut through between areas up on the hill and the St. Croix Street, Bear Drive, kind of way out of town, as well as coming off of Vine Street as well. And so back in 2020, the police department put out the speed counting box and found that there was a decent amount of speeding along that street. And obviously we want vehicle speeds to be as low as possible through that area because it's a residential area and it's not meant for people going fast through there, quite honestly. So previously we had discussed a few different options for traffic calming measures along that stretch. The options that we had previously discussed at Public Safety Committee and then also here were temporary speed humps, creation of medians and curb extensions using flexible post delineators, and creation of mini roundabouts using flexible post delineators. Back when we discussed this at City Council, it got kind of kicked back to Public Safety to discuss a little bit further if any of those three options were the best option, or if another option was preferred or thought of. And then so last month at Public Safety, talked about those three options, as well as installation of always stop signs at one or more intersections along that corridor, installation of stop signs on the 9th Street legs of one or more intersections without the installation of a stop sign at the side street, and then also creation of medians only using the flexible post delineators, so not the curb extension part of it, but the medians only. And so we obviously had previously discussed the first three alternatives in detail. The kind of analysis is attached to the issue sheet from before. Staff had previously looked at the installation of always stop signs, and we found that it's not recommended because the intersections don't meet the standards or guidance outlined in the manual of uniform traffic control devices. And so installation of always stop signs that don't meet standards can result in drivers not stopping for the stop sign because they don't expect cross traffic to be present, which is a problem. We don't want people not stopping for stop signs. And then also it can open us up for future liability in case there are safety problems at those intersections. Also, we talked about installation of stop control only on the major leg of the intersection at the last Public Safety Committee. Did some more research on that. It's not specifically covered in the MUTCD. However, thinking about it some more, I believe that installation of those stop signs only on 9th Street would essentially function a lot like an always stop in that if people are not expecting somebody to be present on the cross street because the volumes are so low, then people will start running the stop signs just like they would at an always stop control intersection. And then also it's just more confusing because people are not used to a traffic control setup like that. Can potentially lead to more safety problems. The final alternative we discussed that was a little bit new at the last Public Safety meeting was creation of the medians only with the flexible post delineators. And so that would be about the same cost as the option 2 from before, which is medians plus the bump outs. So it would kind of mimic median islands on both sides of the 4 intersections, which, the physical concrete islands, are present in other areas of the city, like Hanley Road, which was redone in 2018. This would kind of be the cheap version of that, and we can test it out and see if it works to slow people down there. The cost for that work is estimated about $3,000. We would need to remove those in the winter for snow removal and then put them back up in the spring. Public Safety Committee forwarded this on to council without a particular recommendation. So I wanted to put all the kind of alternatives on the table and have the discussion at council. So just recommended action. So staff is supportive of any of the options presented with the exception of installation of always stop signs and the major leg stop signs on 9th Street. Questions?
Dean, is this $3,000 a year?
This is $3,000 one time
One time?
to purchase the flexible post delineators, and then Public Works staff would just, would remove and reinstall on a yearly basis. That would be just the operational stuff.
Are we storing this at the new public utility or public works facilities?
That'd be a question for Mr. Mraz.
Mike would be more than happy to store anything you want if you build them a new building.
Yes, sir.
Well, the thing at public, excuse me, at public safety is that we all realize something has to be done there. Obviously, I always reject the engineer's thoughts. It was my idea to have 2 stop signs going north and south, slowing everybody down. And that was not addressed in that manual. And I'm not talking about all 4-way, just 1 north and south, 2 of them down north and south, just to stop people. I think it'd be more confusing for our more experienced drivers with a bunch of plastic poles up in the middle of the street. To me, that would be more difficult for people to navigate, or even to newer drivers as well.
Okay.
I liked the idea of the median islands. I thought that was a good way to slow the traffic down. The curb extensions, I thought, would probably not slow traffic down, because if there's only traffic going in one direction when a car is going through, then they've got enough room to go faster. Where if you put the median island in there, that narrows the lane and also narrows the lane in each way, in each direction, without that wider area available to the car to speed. So I really like the idea of the median islands, and I'll make the motion that we install the median islands.
Second.
You got a motion and second. Discussion.
I guess my only point would be, I think at Public Works, we really like the idea of the mini roundabouts, but I think the effect would maybe be very similar to the islands as well. But we definitely think there needs to be something there to calm that traffic down.
I thought that the roundabouts were too confusing at the intersections, that it would be easier to put signs up for the median islands to direct the traffic. I just picture people coming to these roundabouts and going, what is going on? They have enough confusion with regular roundabouts, and now we're introducing these other types of roundabouts. I think that the median islands would probably be a little bit more easy to understand.
I guess that was my question. So what your motion is not a roundabout, is that correct? So it's in the middle
Correct.
of the street, it's not at an intersection?
No, it would be the median island would be right before the entrance to the intersection.
Gotcha. Is there a question for Public Works? Is there any signage that would go on there to direct traffic? To, kind of the keep right sign?
We can add those signs onto there to make it more clear as to where people should go. Yep.
Still be able to get that out during the winter? You know what I'm asking?
Yeah. The signage, the signage would probably stay up in the wintertime.
Well, I should also say there are some signs you can attach to those posts themselves. So when you remove the post, you remove the sign too. Okay. So
I think to Mr. Morissette's concern is my concern as well. Just all of a sudden these white pillars are showing up, and what are you supposed to do? Are you weaving between the posts? So as long as there's some sort of sign there.
We're actually creating the new driver's ed course here for you. So.
This, your suggestion, Joyce, then there would not be the speed bumps then, is that correct?
Correct.
Anybody else? All right, we've got a motion, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion's approved. Did you get that, Becky?
I did.
Okay. Discussion and possible action on the request by Trinity Lutheran Church to host a worship service at Lakefront Park on May 23rd, 2021, and to designate as a community event.
I'll take this one, Mr. Mayor. So Trinity Lutheran Church reached out to staff. They want to host a Sunday worship service down in Lakefront Park. And as part of that, they want to have a picnic associated with the service. And with the picnic, they want to have a couple of food trucks attend their event. And because of that, Deb Andrews, with her experience, said that that would have to be designated a community event. So that's why it's in front of council tonight. I don't know if there's representation from Trinity on the call, but I could answer any questions that you might have if you do.
Anybody?
What are the current CDC guidelines for outdoor gatherings?
So they're ever and quickly evolving, and right now is even the debate on the mask portion of it that is kind of being held. But basically what we're seeing is that if you're fully vaccinated and outside, you don't need a mask. If you're fully vaccinated and outside in a large group setting, such as a concert, event, something like that, it is recommended that you still mask. And so what you'll see with any of the events that come up tonight is that we still refer them to the CDC guidance and the county guidance as far as that goes. And that would then include, and I think all the ones that we've talked to have said that they'll have their signs up unless something changes saying masks required, that sort of thing. Now, as we all know, the enforcement part of that, especially in an event, may be more difficult. But the signage will be there. That's part of what they will be, trying to have into effect, unless again that changes. So we definitely will watch it as it goes too, and kind of see. But what we're seeing, and I can make this general statement, I think about all the events that we'll have on the agenda tonight, is that these are definitely events in set areas that people are going to come to because they want to come to it. You won't accidentally show up and be like, oh, I'm in the middle of a huge event. You're going to see fencing delineating things. You're going to see access points. You're going to see things like that. So if you're coming, you know that you're going to an event outdoors, and our assumption is that you've made a decision on your own behalf that you're feeling comfortable doing an outdoor event like this. And so this, like I said, not maybe specifically for this one, but we have other ones coming up tonight where they have made modifications where in the past, say, we'll jump even down to booster days as quickly, that, there's a parade. You may show up downtown to go out to eat and you're in the middle of a crowd. They determined, because of COVID, but also because of the construction, instead of trying to reroute the parade, things like that, they're not going to do it because it's one of those things where if people are going to show up to an event, they're showing up because they want to, they feel comfortable, they're vaccinated, whatever it might be. So with these ones, all of them, staff does feel comfortable that they're doing what they can to delineate their areas, that people showing up are doing so because they want to show up, they understand what they're doing. And we also think that as things continue to progress to these events, that you're pretty much looking at kind of events as normal, obviously, unless something changes. And if that's the case, we'll revisit all of these. But for example, I do know that in Minnesota, the governor's talking about seeing the state fair basically happen as normal, no restrictions, nothing different than other past years. So I think with all these events, they're going to be following the best guidelines available. And if things change, obviously we'll step in as a city and have to reevaluate these events. But the way things are right now and the way they're progressing, we think that they'll all be able to be done in a safe way as possible right now.
I would move to approve the Trinity Lutheran Church service at Lakefront Park on May 23rd and designate it as a community event.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second to approve. Discussion?
I just have one question on the motion. Does that, are we adding language in there about following CDC guidelines?
So, what am I muted?
Or do we need to with these?
We don't, because if you remember last year when COVID kind of started, we updated our park rental agreements and things like that. So our agreements already have that language in there.
Got it. Thank you.
I think my concern is that, first of all, designating this as a community event, what does that entail? What does that?
It allows them
to shift.
Only thing it does is it allows them basically to have food trucks. Because right now, the way our guidelines are set up right now, if a church service wants to rent the band shell for a church service, that we can approve that administratively. But it's when they want to do something that is not allowed under general city ordinances. And in this case, we don't allow food trucks. And so to allow them to have food trucks at their event, it needs to be designated as a city event, because then they can have something special with their event that's not generally allowed. And so that's why we have to do that. So you'll see these for anything that would then require food trucks. If they want to serve alcohol in our parks, things like that, that's where we designate them as city events. So then they can be allowed to do that. It doesn't bring us any other liability concerns, because it's our park. Our liability is the same no matter what, except that if we would, as staff, say, go ahead, yeah, serve alcohol, it's fine. We can't do that. We need to have the council approve these unique things, and then we have no issues with any additional liability or anything like that under our league coverage.
I was under the impression that the insurance requirements changed, that if it's a community event, it becomes under the city's insurance policy as opposed to theirs. No,
it doesn't. Only if it's a city-sponsored event. So if it's a city-sponsored event, then it would be, our insurance would be the main liability and things like that. But if it just becomes a community event that the council approves, it just means that we're specifically saying, here's what you can do, here's what's allowed, and it may be outside of what generally is allowed, but it doesn't change us taking on full liability or anything like that. It's still their liability completely.
Then my concern then becomes looking like a worship service is sponsored as a community event. That's not a good look. I think we need to relook at what it takes to have a food truck there. So I have no opposition to what they're doing. I think it's great, but having a worship event and we've put down on paper and voted on it that this is a community event. That's not good.
I think what we can maybe look at doing is just updating our language with what our approvals are. Instead of saying a community event, maybe we just strictly state it as a special event or something like that, and get around the potential for the perception that the city is sponsoring or endorsing whatever that may be. Yeah. We can update that and change that.
Do we have time to do that? I notice we don't have an application here. So what's the time frame? Can we change? I'm opposed to a worship celebration being considered a community event, having that wording.
I think it's just, well, I get the terminology, semantics at this point. I would hate to delay their approval for their planning purposes over that. I think moving forward, I'd be happy to address it. And I think we can make it very clear if people watching or things like that, what it is. But I would prefer to allow them to get approved so they can continue with their planning instead of delaying them. That would be at least my recommendation.
Okay, so they won't have to come back if we approve this tonight?
Correct.
The permit doesn't have to come back through like everybody else's is coming through?
Well, Mike, don't they have a full application, or am I missing something?
No, it was omitted from the agenda accidentally with the new software, didn't get uploaded. So Jim, they have submitted a application, and we can forward that on to council if they'd like to review it. But like Aaron said, any delay after tonight is basically pushing them out of their May 23rd event. So
Yeah, I know I reviewed their application, and so I know they have a full application. And we'll
Yeah, I
forward
noticed
that off
it
to the
was-
council.
It wasn't there. I thought maybe they were just saying, we got to cross this bridge before we do any further work.
No, my guess is, like Mike said, new software, we're still working through it, and something
Yeah.
somehow didn't get uploaded.
I know the staff will review the permit, and everything's going to be there that we need. There's sort of some nice things going on around COVID and some of the other permits, so I think we're in good shape there. But I really am uncomfortable with that. So,
Jim, is it because of food or is it because it's a service?
Because it's a worship service that's being considered a community event.
Because we've
That's just
allowed
not
it in the past.
appropriate. It's not as community events. I don't recall one of those.
So in looking at.
I could be wrong, but.
In looking at your ordinance, section 124-2, sales prohibited on public streets and public parking lots. So your code indicates that except is provided for in the chapter for community events approved by the Common Council and seasonal farmers markets, no direct or transient sales or solicitation shall be allowed on any public street or public parking lot. So I think that's the issue there, is that the city of Hudson does not allow sales on public streets or in public parking lots, except that your code designates this exception for community events that are approved by the city council. Community events is not a defined term, so there's no definition in your code as to what a community event is. Mm-hmm. As the city administrator said, it's just an opportunity to provide an exemption to this broad prohibition on the sale of anything on your public streets and in your public parking lots.
So Nick, with that, could we then look at, for all the future ones, updating the code to change that community event to special event and taking away that any sort of potential for confusion that we're, as a council, designated a religious activity as a community event?
Yeah, absolutely. And secondarily, we can actually define the term special event to indicate that they're not necessarily events that are sponsored or otherwise supported by the city, but rather they are events held by private organizations which are seeking a deviation from the city code for a particular event or for a particular time period and a particular purpose.
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, I've got some questions. How many food trucks are they allowed? Is there any maximum number? And then is there a designated place where the food trucks are supposed to be?
So correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe there is a designated maximum listed in the ordinances. However, having said that, the application said that they're only going to have 2 on site for this event, and they would be located in the parking stalls directly adjacent to the band shell. There's like 4 stalls that abut the parking lot so that they would be basically facing the park.
Yep. So what you're approving is what's in the application, which unfortunately we didn't get uploaded into the agenda. But so what you're approving is basically 2 food trucks that'll be located in 4 parking spots directly adjacent to kind of where the band shell is located. In that beachfront lot, parking lot.
Yes.
Okay,
correct.
so the trucks will be in the beachfront lot, not on the street. Okay.
Correct, not on the street.
That was part of my question. Okay. And so maybe it would be helpful in the future to have some more information about the number of food trucks in the ordinance or something along that line, so that we have that in the ordinance as well.
Well, I think honestly, what does happen with these is we base it off the event. I mean, you may have moving forward a special event that might want it might be a large scale event. They may want 5 food trucks. You may have a smaller scale event where literally they just want the one pizza truck or whatever it is. So I would say basically, I don't think we should set necessarily a limit as much as let's see what the applications come in as, and the council then has the discretion to say that's too many, or that, something like that. That way, we kind of do leave it up to give some flexibility to the event coordinators. But at the same time, it allows the council then the flexibility to say, nope, too many. Let's scale that down a couple or something like that.
Okay.
Which is what we basically do now.
So now, since this is in their application that they're only having 2 food trucks, they cannot exceed that at the.
Correct. What you're approving is what's in their application. They can't do anything different than that.
I think it would be appropriate that we all get a copy of that application just to keep things on the open up.
We will get it sent out to you.
And Jim, I guess I want to say your point is really well taken. And just to clarify that the motion has nothing in my mind to do with the city endorsing a religious event or a particular religion, but it's simply about, in my mind, the designation of trying to get a food truck out to those guys. So that's the way I'm seeing it too.
That's how I would interpret that, but the wording is comfortable.
I get you. I hear you.
Okay, got a motion, a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action to approve the request by Darby Lansford, Director of the Fifth Center for the Arts, to host a summer benefit concert in Lakefront Park on August 14th, 2021.
Yeah, so another event request by the Fifth Center of the Arts. I don't know if Darby is on here.
I am.
Great. So Darby, why don't you just kind of summarize your event and then make yourself available to any questions the council may have.
Great. Thank you all. So the FIPS is putting in for a proposal for a summer benefit concert on August 14th. The FIPS will actually be closed for the most part from June through August as we are renovating the building during this time. We really wanted to continue programming and felt that doing something outside would be a great thing for both the FIPS and for the community at large, hoping that by the time we get to August, gathering, particularly outside, would be a safer activity. The concert as a whole is kind of a summer music festival starting midday and going to early evening, again, using the band shell. We would request, as the discussion just went, to serve beer and wine as well as food using local catering, local restaurant companies to do so, not food trucks. We also have a couple of safety precautions in terms of how we could run the event depending on where we are with COVID protocols at the time. We are considering and looking at fencing in pretty much the entire, what we would call the seating area in front of the band shell, so that we could limit participation if we needed to. The FIPS has been very rigid about protection around COVID, requiring masks, and we have no problem really pushing sure that everybody wears masks and stays safe. We've also built out essentially a grid pattern on the entire space so that we know how we could ask people to social distance and kind of even have thought about how we could even draw that out in terms of on the grass so that we could keep people safe again, depending on where we are when we get to August at that time. The event itself is around 4 acts that would come on. In between those acts, as they change over, the FIPS would like to talk to the crowd about the FIPS and really introduce and create awareness around our organization. The tickets would be free, but we would be seeking sponsorship and donation to support the FIPS. We've been performing at lower capacities due to COVID very successfully for almost a year now. And this would really help in terms of donations to support the FIPS in our mission.
I move we approve.
Second.
Got a motion, a second to approve. Discussion? All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think it's a great plan. I think it's a great event. So I appreciate the FIPS bringing this forward.
Anybody else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action to approve the request by Mike Burnley, Hudson Lions Club, to host a hometown music festival at Lakefront Park on Saturday, September 11th, 2021.
All right, so our last event on the agenda tonight, I see Mike Burnley is on here. It's a request by the Hudson Lions to host a event in Lakefront Park, and he is here to summarize his event and answer any questions you might have. Mike, are you there?
Yes, I am. Sorry.
Perfect. So why don't you go ahead and explain the event and then answer any questions that the council may have for you.
Okay, the Hudson Music Fest is now in their 6th year. It's a quickly becoming a fall tradition. The Music Fest aspires to bring people to the Hudson and surrounding communities together to strengthen our sense of community by doing through like a family-oriented event with free admission. The Music Fest will provide venue of local music artists featuring local food vendors, beer, wine, and offers family atmosphere with the fun activities for the kids. And through the activities, we have a silent action to raise funds for 100% donated to a local charity, which this year is Gigi's Playhouse. And we've been pretty successful with the silent action to raise money for our local charities in the past. Any questions?
Motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action on the request by the Hudson Boosters to hold Booster Days on July 1st to the 4th, 2021, and designation of a community event.
So again, this is our last event. I'm happy to see actually a number of events on the agenda, and it's a great sign of things coming back, and I hope it's a great summer that way. So I do believe that there is someone from the Boosters on the call tonight to run through.
We've got somebody here and maybe perhaps somebody on the, got several people here.
Okay, perfect. Then we'll turn it over and let them run through it.
I didn't hear what he said.
He said, go ahead.
Sorry.
Hi,
Tell
I'm
us what you have
Holly
to say.
Schultz. I'm the Booster Days coordinator, and we would like to have Booster Days.
Sorry,
this
we
year.
can't hear you.
We would like to have Booster Days this year, open for any questions that you may have. July 1st through the 4th.
Could you, Holly, would you explain what events you are not doing as well as the events that you're?
Yeah, so just due to the construction, downtown, we won't be hosting the parade. We will not be hosting the tractor pull either. Car show's kind of up in the air a little bit, and I'm still working on getting, a couple more food trucks, but otherwise we're having bands, music, carnival, beer garden, and so far I have Minneapolis pretzels coming, and then Big Guy's barbecue, and maybe the taco guy. I'm waiting for his response. And then we're gonna have the fishing contest for the little kids, and I'm drawing a blank here. It's a smaller venue than what we know.
No carnival.
No, she said.
Yes, we're having the carnival.
You are?
Yep, you bet. Yep.
Okay, any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion?
Could you just walk us through a little bit about your COVID-19 safety protocols that you're going to be taking with it?
Yeah, so for the carnival, they're very well, they have a great plan. They have hand sanitizers on when you get on the ride, and then when you get off of the ride. Their masks will be worn by their workers as they're helping the children into the rides. 2 times daily, they'll be fog, like steaming, sanitizing their equipment. And all their food trucks are already set up with protective barriers, and because they've used them in the past in 2020. Right now, I'm working with the food vendors. I know Steve Beck, who is Minneapolis Pretzel, he was the gentleman who already has a COVID plan in place for his event because he does the state fair. But I'm still working with the other vendors at that time to, at this time to be able to have them have something in place with their contracts that they'll be sending in, that then I will be able to get to you. Because we've been kind of a little bit on hold right now until we get the approval from everybody to, get all the contracts signed and everything, so.
Okay. Anybody else? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, what I have is, I neglected, as I said I was going to do, I neglected what I said I was going to do at the outset of the meeting. That was to introduce Nick Vivian, our new city attorney, to everybody. We did that at the Finance Committee. So Nick, welcome aboard. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. Rich asked me earlier at the Finance Committee meeting if I had anything to say. I appreciate the opportunity to work with the city. Obviously, I've been on the other side of the table on a number of projects. I've always enjoyed working in the city and really look forward to the opportunity to work on behalf of the city. So obviously know your staff well, know many of you well, and look forward to working with you on matters as we continue to move this thing forward. So thank you for your confidence in me, and I look forward to working with the group.
Excellent. Thank you, Nick. It's good to have you on board.
Absolutely.
All right, that's it. That's all I've got. Anybody else?
I have 2 comments. One is the detour set up for the 35 project. I just want to get on record how poor that Mickey Mouse route was signed, and I've heard from many residents on how confusing and lack of signage it is. So I just want to put that on the record. And city staff is addressing that issue. If you guys haven't had complaints, I'm sure you have, but the city staff is working on better signage for the detour. The second thing is I'd like to have the conversation about having in-person meetings again with council and or staff. When's the right time to bring us back? We're losing a lot of stuff through Zoom. I get why we're doing it, but maybe it's time to start thinking about coming back so we can get papers that are missing, documents that we need to make things, we need that personal touch again. So I'd like to have that conversation and maybe set a date or look at that. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, Randy. Anybody else?
Yeah, we got the presentation from the Y about the diversity, equity, and inclusion, their proposal, and I would like to have a discussion with the council on whether we want to proceed with something like this and how we would go about it. Is this something that we would want to do a request for proposals or something along that line? And I'd like to ask that Aaron see if he can find some sample requests for proposals so that we'd have an idea of how we would put that out.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yes, I have a few things if possible. I've noticed as I've been watching the city council meetings for the last year, there's been lots of public comments and there's been lots of questions about how we respond to those public comments. So I'm hoping we can talk about that. And I've also heard a lot of questions about our policy with respect to open records requests and our fee structure, how it's managed. So I'm hoping that could be added to the next agenda as well. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. Anybody else?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion, second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. We stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.